Welcome back to this week's episode of the Turn Row Podcast with your host, Kyle Brumley. Let's tune in.
All right, welcome back to the Turn Row Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Brumley. With me today, we got Brad Deming.
I'm back.
He's back, everyone.
Give me to start singing Back in the Cell.
No
one wants that, do they?
one wants not.
Yeah, I think I've been gone for a couple episodes.
Yeah, I was out last week. You were out. It's been kind of a wild ride here around this month. You've got two people out on vacation this week. Alyssa's going to be out for a couple days. So, as scary as it sounds, you and I are on the show.
Oh, they gave me the keys back, so we'll find out what I can get done or lack thereof to get done. But I have been gone. I've been in the sprayer for what, better part of the 10 days.
Yep.
And then I was sick before that, so that was fun. And now I'm still coughing, but I'm at least here and I can talk, and I'm not hacking like I smoked 2 packs of Camels a day.
And we've got Fair Week this week, so you're going to be in and out doing that.
Yeah, Fair Weeks this week. So Howard County 4-H Fair starts actually today, opening day today. So the kids have been busy doing stuff, the 4-H projects. We've been back and forth with doing all that. And I can honestly say it's been fairly busy. That's a bad joke, I think. Fairly busy. Whatever works. So no, yeah, Fair Week this week. I'm pretty sure there'll be some terrible amounts of food and copious amounts of terrible food occupied by all of this. So I'm going with the Greek gyro. I'll be just stay with land.
Oh, you got to go corn dog and shake up at least once.
No cancer sticks for me. I'm okay. Just got to go with straight up Greek gyro. Maybe a tenderloin or two. Might throw that off. Elephant ear, yeah, maybe. I don't know if I want the sugar.
Funnel cake.
No, I can't do that. It's too much fried food for me. So.
Well, speaking of Fair Week, last time you and I together, I felt like all we do is talk about agronomy every day. And then we sat down here and it's like a episode of Dr. Phil. So let's just keep that thing going.
I thought it was more like Jerry Springer. I don't see the audience, though.
Now we got to get Spence to come in here. I forget what that's the big bald guy. That's the bouncer. Steve.
Yeah. Big Wilfos or something like that. Big Steve, big bald Steve. Yeah, we could do that. Jason can roll in as Steve. We can get Spencer to be Jerry. That might work.
He kind of looks like Jerry. That curly hair in the back, some mullet glasses. Yeah, he's definitely Jerry.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about just, stresses, what they do to, your body, the mental and the physical side of it.
Mentical. I like that. It's a new word.
Yeah. Okay. Excuse me out there, everyone. We're trying to get used to all this new technology. These headphones are throwing me off a little bit.
Well, you're not used to hearing me this loud.
No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, I kind of feel like I don't know if this makes us officials, but it's weird to me still.
Yeah, I just feel like you're flying a plane right now. But go ahead, back to your mental side of things.
But no, we talked about, like I said, the mental. I did it again.
New word.
Mystical.
Distic? No. That's why I call it mentical. We'll try that. We're just going to bypass that. Okay, moving on.
So time management. What I was trying to get at in that episode is we talked about, farmers wear all kinds of hats. I said you're a CEO, a CFO, a laborer, a mechanic. With that comes just a lot of, time management. So I'm curious to hear from you both on the personal and the professional side of things. How do you allocate your time?
Well, let's just start there. When things, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit on time management. When things were smaller, there was less of us, who was a little bit easier to just kind of segment things. And I think as men, it's kind of I kind of joke around. We're very compartmentalized in our thinking. And, I've got all my compartments that all the buckets that we're trying to do stuff in. And I don't like moving on to something else until we complete, I may have 15 web browsers open, but I don't want to deal with the other 14 until the first one's done. I don't like having to run a million of them. And when we were a smaller company starting out, it was easier because there wasn't as many buckets. There wasn't anything going on to manage that time. So During that point in time, I could really structure what we were doing. There was things going on the ag solution side for the seed side. There was things going on for um, the bionutrient side. There was spreading, there was farming, and we could just be able to work on one thing at a time, complete it and move on, complete it, move on, and just kept that pace going. Well, as it's gotten to today, we've already today we're almost halfway through the day, almost leading up against lunch here. We've had probably 15 different directions we've already been going, plus on top of trying to film this podcast. So the one thing that I guess I look at is today, looking at the lack thereof time management that I've, trying to work on and get better at, has been looking at, what are the top priorities that you've done and what do I need to put out those fires first? And then ultimately speaking, I think you kind of attest to this, and it's kind of a, excuse me, still coughing. But I think it's something you guys all recognize around here is a very underlying theme of the entire company is everything stops when a customer calls. I mean, we could be planting, we could be spraying, we could be in the middle of music. If somebody calls and says they need something, they are the number one priority, or they always go to the top. And I think you guys have attested that. Sometimes it drives you crazy. I'm in the middle of doing something, or we're doing a project, and somebody calls and somebody needs something. We immediately shift in that mode because ultimately speaking, that's what drives a company. If we don't have our customers and we don't take care of them and we don't do what they need and work with them when they need it, I think we just don't have a company. And that's kind of a very large fiber of what we do here. But when it comes to time management, the thing I'm trying to work on is trying to get a set schedule for the whole week or for the day, and then realize that it's never going to be. And hold on, I'll say this right. It's never going to go exactly like I want it planned, and I've got to learn to be okay with that and learn to pivot. And I know many people are very structured. Like if we are planned, this is our plan. Let's go execute, and we can't deviate. For me, I live in the world of chaos and deviation, and realize the plan hasn't changed. How we get there has changed.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today is um, I think just the ag world in general is like that. And, it's just the nature of the beast. And I don't know too many operators out there who, you know, do delegate their time, great, which is, why I wanted to have this conversation today. I think it's important for us to hash it out and talk about it, but, hopefully some of those people out there will get something from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a great point, Kyle, on time management for farmers in general, the ag community. Um, Not too many I've met that are really just perfect at it and really great at it. And then that's not a dig to anybody because I'm right there with them, first time caller, long time listener, right? Um, it's because everything changes, and whether it be weather, whether it be markets, whether it be anything else. I mean, you you have to be willing to deviate from the plan and change when things go on. And we talk about, we discussed before, managing not only your operation and your day-to-day activities, but you have a family. You got a life outside of farming. Farming doesn't define who I am. And those things change. I mean, um, whether we talk about fair this week, those things can change. I can get a phone call right now from Marsh, and she could be like, "Hey, by the way, I need you to run for something going on 4-H up there for the kids or whatever I got to do." I mean, it's going to change my plan, and I was not planning on that. And I'm probably not the best at being super excited about changing when that comes on. But yeah, I mean, the family for people who work with farms anyway, that's going to change their plan.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned already kind of from inception to where it's at now, just the growth, multiple sites now. Um, and what are some things that you've had to implement or do to, like I said, help keep you on track? I know that it's still crazy. Like you said, the phone rings and the plane goes out the window, but how have you evolved as a farmer, as a person, as a father, kind of, I think they all just kind of run together.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'll say one thing, and I'll probably fumble this a little bit, but there has been a big push within inside of our company on technology, whether it be Microsoft Teams we're using, and I'm the worst one. I mean, like I said, first time caller, long time listener. I'm probably the worst one, and Kyle can attest to this. of using some of these technologies that we put in place.
And if you're the worst, I'm probably the second worst. So
It's always the sales guys, right? Always. We're just run and gun, and then we'll worry about the clean up later. But that's one thing that has been, whether it be that, whether it be some of the systems and apps that Spencer's creating, that we were using, some of the things that Jason's been doing on the spreading side of keeping track, or inventory, he's keeping track, through Google Sheets. A lot of the technology has allowed me to get a better visual of what's going on, and maybe manage my time a little bit better. Um, but I really think probably more than anything that, what has been the one thing is probably just being okay with the fact that I know it's not going to go always like I plan. And that's not easy because I'm a little bit of a control freak. I've got a vision in my mind how I want to go. And when it doesn't go that way, it's very difficult to be okay with it. So, I know you're Cranbo there. I'm not I'm not worried about control of anything, am I?
no,
No.
no, that's a good point. I mean, operations do get bigger, and just having the right people in the right seats, trusting people. I think it could be especially difficult when, let's say, a son comes back into the operation. That father-son dynamic can be an awkward one. You've got, your dad who has essentially kept you alive, raised you, and now you have to start, turning over some control to him. Um, you know, a lot of those things can be awkward and, make for an interesting dynamic.
No, you're dead on them. And whether it be a father, son, grandfather, grandson, nephew, uncle, cousin, whatever it may be operationally, that's inside of everybody's operation. Probably the one thing or the two things I guess you look at is communication, respect, and time management, how you work together. Because everybody has their own agenda. And if you're not communicating, working together to understand and have the respect of what you're all trying to accomplish, the common goal, how do you expect to manage your time when everybody has different values of what their time's worth?
Right. So I think the probably even more important in the professional side of things, like we've been talking on, is the personal, the family side of things. So, you know, everybody here is a father. You've got 3 kids. I've got 2. Um, Between the farm and everything that we do at Cross Creek Ag Solutions, how do you keep your family at the forefront? How do you stay connected? Because then again, talking about, hot topics that a lot of people just overlook in agriculture. I think that's a big one, is making time for your kids, making time for your family.
Yeah. Um, it's not easy, right? You have to be very, what's the word I'll look at? You have to be very devoted to it, but you also have to be very cognizant of what's going on, and what you're doing, and have a deep amount of self-awareness of the time you're spending and where you're spending it. Um, you guys can attest. I'm a workaholic. I love to work. I love, the fact that we built this company, this business, this farm, and we continue to grow and look for opportunities to grow. And that takes a tremendous amount of time and bandwidth and thought all the time. But I can honestly say, there sometimes I just plain point blankly just suck at it. I'm just going to be honest. I think we'll all pick. I can be very transparent and honest in this whole conversation, and just say there's sometimes I just point blankly suck at it. And the cool part is I have Marsh to back me up. She's kind of the yin to my yang. She can kind of say, hey, you need, like, I can see, well, you guys actually see it sometimes also. We're coming out of fall or spring, right? I've been running and gunning, not sleeping a lot, just worried about all different things. When I finally get a chance to let down and take a break for a minute, what happens?
You get sick?
I get sick and clocks. Just clockwork. It happens twice a year, if not more. I think that's where I need to be more cognizant of that, and also the time I'm spending with the kids. Because ultimately speaking, I think my kids would attest to this from early on. When I was not, Cross Creek was I developed, I was working for Bex. I was traveling 16, 17 states, traveling for the, what at that time was a key account role for Bex. I was gone all the time. And when I was home, I was still trying to farm too, the small amount of acres we were farming. So I was just burned the candle at 3 ends, not both ends. And my family was giving whatever was left over when there was nothing left over. So one of the things that kind of woke me up during that point in time is when my oldest Layton, which is an intern for us this year, you guys have probably seen some of the videos of her. I mean, well, she was 6, maybe 7. I won't do the stuff on this. Then but she was 6 or 7 years old. And when I came home from a trip, I think it was in Iowa, I was gone for like 4 days and came home and she made a comment. She's like, well, when you leaving next? Because clearly you don't love us anymore. And I was like, okay.
Oof, that's tough.
That was a pretty big dagger to the heart there.
Yeah.
So I had to really sit back and say, why did she say that? What's going on? And it wasn't that there was any issue with her being mad, or it's just dad wasn't there. And what's funny is when I wasn't there, she was sleeping in the bed with Marsh. I mean, and so she sort of got used to, about every 2 weeks, you'd have 3 or 4 days of hanging out with mama in bed and being able to sleep there. She got used to that repetition. And I'm like, okay, something's got to change in my life, right? I got to manage things differently. That's what one of the reasons and one of the big things that led to, leaving Bex and starting Cross Creek Ag. But I look at when that happened and I started realizing, okay, I need to be very intentional with the hours I have, um, whether it be working with customers, dealing with my family, spending time with each of the kids or something. I mean, if anybody follows us for a long period of time, that's called DADCAMP. It's an organization started by Jason Braun out of Kokomo, Indiana. It's in, Alyssa, how many? 21 countries in 21 states. Pretty big organization that's solely focused on the relationship of dads and their fathers, or fathers and their daughters, fathers with their sons. And so we dove into that when Late was like 6 years old. About that point in time, we started going in. I spend one weekend a year with each of the kids as they've been growing up and intentionally pouring into their lives. Just, the phrase, you have what it takes, which in turn kind of changed my thought process of understanding that I need to spend time no matter what we're doing. If we're in the backyard playing around swimming, or if we're on the boat, like we were last night, we were wake surfing last night and London got up for really the first time ever and ran for, 4 or 5 minutes on the board. So, those are times where, she's excited. I need to let her know, like, I believe in her. I trust in her. She has what it takes. And basically validating those kids to understand that I appreciate them, I understand them, I here for them to build that time into it. So I don't want them to think that dad was never there because he was too busy worrying about the business or the farm, because that's not it at all. And so we had that, but it really shifted my mindset to even just, employee side of things. Ultimately speaking, I care about all our team here. I care about their own lives, and I care about their visions, their family's visions. I care about our customers' visions and what they want to do, because ultimately speaking, it's not about what we do, how we do it. It's about the why we do it, and I have to manage that time to make sure that why never disappears.
Yeah, that's a great point. Among the many reasons of why I'm here, that's one of them. You and I have talked about it a lot, especially when I first hired on, about, kind of the spot that I was in. In a previous life, I was on farm full time, not a family farm, but an employee of someone else. And for pretty much the first 3 years of my oldest daughter's life, I wasn't there much. Um, when you're kind of in the heat of battle, like you said, you don't even really realize that. It just becomes just what life is. Um, and then as she started getting older, my wife works full time. She needed help. I realized that that this isn't what life's supposed to be. And that was hard because I was doing what I loved, basically. It was just selfish, is what it was.
Sure.
You think everything's great. You've got the job you want. You're doing exactly what you want. When you're in the field, everything seems perfect. And then that rare occasion when you are home on a weekend, it's like you feel like a stranger. So,
Yeah.
um, no, except what you said is, it hits home. It's important. I think more people need to talk about it and realize that.
Yeah, I think I need to kind of talk about the 12-step program, or 12-step program, sorry. You know, first step in the program is denial. Second step is admittance. And I think many of us in agriculture need to we deny a lot. Oh, it's fine. It's all good. The kid, I was around, or I was around for the kids, or I was around for the grandkids, or whatever. Well, there's a difference between being there and being present. Yeah. I mean, I can be present, but I'm not part of, I'm not actively involved. Um, that's one thing I think that a lot of us, including myself, sometimes I can say, hey, I was there, but was I actually involved there? Was I awake, quote unquote, right? So I think that's one thing. The other part that I thought was really interesting over the time period that I've learned some of this stuff and looking at time management. There's a couple books out there that talk about this, but I'm going to fumble through it a little bit. But with understanding when your net effective timing is. So I talk about net effective time. What does that mean? For me, my best hours of work, and you guys kind of laugh, but I am not a morning person.
No,
I would prefer.
you're awake, but your brain's not awake.
Right. I am not a morning person at all. I'm very slow to get started. I'm thinking constantly, but I'm just not at a functioning high level. Yeah. I'm kind of like an old Detroit diesel. Takes a little while to get her started.
Spray a little ether in her and let her crank.
Yeah, that's right. And I had to get rid of coffee a few years ago, and so now it's just tea and honey. But
For all of you guys out there, I have coffee and what he's got, water or something.
actually, creatine and water. So yeah, it looks like diesel fuel right here. So I'm feeling that Detroit right now. So
That's a little red. That's all for him.
DOT is not dipping that one for me. But no, I mean, like I talk about the Detroit diesel, it takes me a while to get running. But once I do, my net effective hours that I do the best work are really past 5 o'clock till 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning. Couple reasons. One, like I said, when I get the energy going, I don't normally slow down until I crash. The other part is it's awesome quiet at the nighttime. Most everybody's done with their day. The kids could be asleep. The phone calls aren't coming in. And then I can do my best work sometimes between 9 and midnight because I have the ability to just focus and it's quiet. And so I can get a lot done, churn out quick. And sometimes you guys get emails from me or text from me at 11:45 at night or something, and hope you guys are all asleep because I'm still.
And you never get an answer back. No, hey, you don't consider an answer. I'm usually in bed before the sun goes down.
Yeah. I had to laugh because it used to be when I was working for Bex, but this is back in like 2004, 2005, back in the fax machine days. Ooh, yeah. Big time there, right? Technology. I remember getting fax from like Lee Ruland, which was a marketing director for Bex, and Sonny would send stuff out. I mean, we're talking sometimes 1, 2 in the morning. We'd get a fax and that thing, and I'd wake up with what in the world? Well, they were still out working. And I was always that way, but it was funny because they were still up and going and they were thinking about things that need to be done. And a fax would be sent out at, 11 o'clock, 1 in the morning, whatever it was. And so I learned that, you know, I have to operate in my most net effective time. And I would love to be able to get up every morning at 4 o'clock and just be able to hit the ground running and be like full energy and go. I'm just not built that way. I've tried it. I've tried working out in the mornings and I can do it, but I'm just dead tired. But I know once I get going and the flow starts rolling, then the battery doesn't shut off until there's nothing left in the battery.
Yeah, I mean that's where that time management piece comes back in again. Like I said, how have you grown and how have you changed and adapted? I mean, I think that's a great example of, work when you work best, when you can get things done. Because you are so dedicated to the business, to our customers, like you said, no phone call goes unanswered. I mean, I think that can derail your productivity. And so you've realized that, you know, after about 7 o'clock, unless it's in the heat of battle, that phone's going to stop ringing.
I mean, am I a telemarketer during?
Yes.
I mean, I answered every call because I don't know who it is on the other end, and maybe it is a telephone call from telemarketers, which I think they called this morning asking about my 2012 Chrysler warranty if I wanted to free it. So, uh, but I mean, yeah, I don't want to go not unseen, but I don't want to go unheard if people need something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's probably a good point for us to transition, get back in our lane a little bit with what we truly are good at, and neither one of us are doctors. So I tried. Let's hype up our doctors of plants and talk about what's going on in the field. Talk about a little agronomy. So we just finished up our V8 to V12 pass on corn. For most of our corn, that was a V10 pass. You did all the spraying, so what'd you see?
Yeah. So, for those of you that are new to us, and we farm in 5 different counties in north central Indiana. Anything from black flat, really good dirt, Tipton County, to really good dirt in Grant, Howard County, to some rolling clays in Miami and Cass County. Um, Lack of better terms, Kyle, what have we been the last 45 days?
Wet.
Wet. I mean, we've been getting rains, and more rains, and there's a lot of drowned out spots and a lot of fields. I was up in the Peggy in the sprayer, so I could see a lot of people's crops and drive around looking at around. There was a lot where we had a lot of rain in Grant County, Howard County. There's spots, right? I mean, we got drowned out spots. We got spots that had water standing. Um, Never gonna fix those. I don't care who you are. Nothing we can do to fix that. It's anaerobic conditions, microbial activities at an all-time low. Roots are saturated. We're gonna see the pressure in those parts of the farm. They'll probably spread to some outside adjoining areas. But overall, I will say Tipton County probably looked the best on corn. Shockingly, but they haven't had the big rains that we had there in early June. It's been a little drier down there.
Yeah, they've missed some of the big ones. I mean, even last week, a couple miles north of here, 4 to 6 inches. And then as we sat here, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. On Friday, we were here. Whatever day that was.
Friday.
Yeah. A couple days ago.
Friday's Friday.
Yeah. We were sitting here and we were in a meeting and it was just raining here pretty good. But then Peg said 3 to 4 miles north, they had 4 to 6 inches in less than an hour and a half. And the flooding up there was tremendous. So I will say Howard and Grant counties looked pretty good from a corn standpoint, but there was a lot of areas that were water stricken, just some uneven variability across the board. But overall, it didn't look terrible. I mean, I would say like I said, overall, it's not bad. But do I think it's what the USDA says? And we've drove to Ohio. I've been over to Illinois. I haven't been down south yet or all the way out to Iowa. We haven't been up in Michigan yet in the last 45 days. But do I think the USDA is off on what I see here locally? Based on their figures on good export ratings? Yeah, I think they're a little bit high right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, what it does to steer. Because like you said, I think a lot of it's being driven by just there was a lot of early planting in areas, but are those areas completely healthy still? I mean, Saturday, you and I were over on the west side of the state. Um, as good as you talk about that Tipton County dirt is that we've got here, the stuff we were looking at over there's even better. And sure, there's some great looking corn, but there's a lot of variability, a lot of up and down, even over there.
Well, one thing we saw, and I saw from the sprayer, the pay-for plant corn, a lot of guys got out there early. I will say there was quite a few fields that were tasseled, looked pretty even for the most part, but there were also just as many fields that you had all kinds of spots. I mean, there was tassels coming out, there was uneven, there was places that were not even close to tassel yet. So, I mean, you could tell the emergence was dramatically affected. Could have been 2 weeks difference of emergence. I mean, that's how far behind some of that looks. Conversely, some of the stuff that was planted in mid to late May, it was in really good conditions. May not be a very popular opinion with people out there, but the truth of the matter is, I think it's almost caught up. If it would have been a month behind today, I'm going to say probably 10 days behind, just because it hasn't had the issues and the stress near as much as the early plans.
I mean, we didn't have that early season stress. And then if you just want to just solely look at heat units, I mean, yeah, it has about caught up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I think overall, from our crop perspective and some of the testing we got going on, Spencer's going to have a few farms you're going to have fun with. That he's going to have to cut some data, that we're going to have to take out some, wet bulls that are zero spots to be able to make, truly good data and find the spots in the field that we can take that are good. Other farms, I mean, I can name 3 or 4 farms that were just tabletop, perfect, look good. And I'll be honest, there's 2, I think, we'll find out what happens down the road, but I think we still have 300 plus bushel potential in those fields.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, on beans, I think, you look at a lot of corn, I look at a lot of beans. Kind of we split time doing all of those. Beans are still, I'm going to call average at best. I know we know beans don't like wet feet. They've been wet through June. Things have kind of evened out. One thing I'll notice, then again, we're talking a small geography, but just overall nodulization, all of that is still lacking. root structure in general. I mean, it hasn't had to search for water. It hasn't really had to work very hard. So, you know, they're talking about us turning hot and dry in the next 10 days to 2 weeks and then beyond. Who knows what's going to happen? So I think corn is going to continue to get better. The jury's still out on what beans are going to do.
Yeah, I think with the weather prediction here for the next 7 to 10 days, they're talking about, no rain pretty much across the whole entire Midwest, high temperatures, or at least on the other side. Interesting, there was some data that came out this morning off of, when I talk about takes me a while to get ready in the morning and it takes me time to, I listen to podcasts, just trying to, gather information. There was a, gosh, I can't quote who it was now. That's terrible. Lost my mind. Anyways, they were talking about the last 45 days across all the Midwest. We've been averaging 4 degrees warmer on the nighttime temperatures than we would on a 5-year average.
I'd buy that.
So if you look at that from a respiration standpoint, our factories, our plants, right? Those are our factories. That's what's making us money out there. They have been working overtime more than they normally have over a 5-year average based on the nighttime temperatures. So, well, was it 2 weeks ago? It was just stupidly hot.
Yeah.
I mean, like high 90s, high humidity, about 5-6 days.
Yeah. Heat index. Yeah. 105, 106.
So that pushed obviously a lot of that. But I think, now where we're at now with all this rain, this nighttime temperature, the last 45 days averaging over 4 degrees warmer. If this continues on for the next 45 days, I'll just speak to corn for a second. The amount of pressure and stress that's going to cause on this crop is going to be pretty large. It's also going to get us to the finish line quicker just from GDUs. But the other thing is, I believe it's probably going to bring some more disease pressure than what we've been accustomed to the last couple of years. And I know there's one, I don't know, but can of worms on this one. Here we go, right? The big T word, tar spot. Yep. There's been a tremendous amount of, Kyle, you've seen it. I mean, I know you'll have social media, Facebook. You stay off of your head. I'm a ghost. Yeah. And is that a CIA thing or something? Like you're trying to stay off witness protection programs?
I mean, I'm in witness protection. Oh, we better stop. This is not a good idea, is it?
Sarah's going to kill you. The fact of the matter is that there has been a tremendous amount of advertisement across many different companies. Interesting is most of those companies sell fungicide, talking about tar spots and blow up. I know Darcy Talenko, the Talenko, there at Purdue. Yeah, Purdue. She's been talking about that have been tar spot found on a lot of different counties across Indiana. I don't disagree. It's out there. It's in a residue. It's going to be part of our life forever. So everybody just get used to it. Question is, how are you managing it? And that's where we come into play. There's a lot of things that you have pre-existing conditions where those plants planted in stressful conditions. Is there crown rots? Is there root rots? That's what's going to make tar spots show up even worse if you've got pre-existing conditions and you've got problems. If your plant's really healthy and everything's even, tar may show up, but it's not going to absolutely blow up. If it does, you can get to it later.
Right. I mean, when you think about, kind of the symptomology of the disease, I mean, it is a scavenger or a parasite. I mean, those, you're essentially feeding off of, sugars, chlorophyll, all those things in the leaf surface. I mean, that's where the yield loss comes from is that disease is robbing from your factories. So you're not as efficient. So yeah, it only goes to say that the healthier we can keep that plant, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's why, you talked about, I was in the sprayer last week and was catching up on all the, we'll call it V12 and V14 was where we were at spraying. I'm going to be first to tell everybody out there, did we have fungicide in the mix with all our foliar nutrition? Yeah, bet we didn't, because we knew the last 45 days we've been so wet. Did I find any tar in our spots or tar spots in any of our fields or any leaf disease? No, we did not. Do I believe blanket applying fungicide is the right thing to do? No. Do I think we have the right environment with the right temperature and everything trending that way for the next 30-day forecast? If you haven't believe, the weather people out there, do I think it's going to blow up and be a problem? You bet. Was I willing to put just an oxystril and a propiconazole on, just really cheap for some insurance, but also including with all of our foliar program, our sugars, our biologicals, our kelps, our, boron, zincs, all the things that we were doing. Am I willing to do that? Because we've seen over time that is paid going into pollination. So I'm protecting the plant, basically stress priming the plant, trying to get through pollination. And then we'll decide when we get to brown cell, do we need another application of fungicide? If we don't, we're not gonna use it. If we do, we'll put it in there.
Yeah, and I think that's why, all those things that you just said, I mean, I think that's why if you look at our data out of dirt, why this pass has been probably the highest ROI pass for 5, if not 6 years running. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on there, but, you look at 2 of the specific products, a sugar product and a potassium acetate. So we talked about, it's staying hot at night. If that plant's never getting a chance to respirate, recover, go as
Corn sweat.
yeah, go to sleep, if you will, you got to figure out a way to get an extra energy. So, whatever that sugar product may be, um, you've got a shot of carbon, all of those things in there with that. And then you look at just about what potassium acetate or acetate based products do in general. So, sure, we're using potassium acetate. I mean, it gets hot out, you get dehydrated. What do? Electrolytes, Gatorade, number of packets of anything, you name it. Baja Gold Salt, Baja Gold Salt. But okay, Baja Gold Salt, look at it. Where is it? It's trace minerals, electrolytes, all of those things. So I think that pass this year is going to pay out probably exponentially higher than it even has in the past just because of that. So, you talk about moving nutrients, moving water, everything up through that plant. That's kind of I think a hidden function of just acetates in general. So we're thinking about it like we're just putting on potassium, which, in drought type conditions, which we haven't had, is important. But then you look at just, that molecule itself being able to move sugars, move starches, to and from the plant. Um, well, those are 2 things that I would have in every pass right now. Not so much for anything else other than stress mitigation. So,
100% agree. I honestly agree.
like you said, most people put on fungicide. I would strongly encourage you guys to be looking at some sort of, acetate, potassium acetate, some sort of, nutrient in that form, as well as a sugar product right now.
Yep. Well, that's why we stack so many things. And everybody says, "Oh, your program's so complex." Well, that's because we're stacking so many different elements and so many different, minerals or, nutrients because we know we need certain ones. And the other thing, we were tissue sampling all this year, which we didn't sample as much as I wanted to because of weather. We were trying to sample once a week. We've actually averaged about once every other, or corn's been once a week or once every other week, beans been once every other week, which is flip flop and rotate each week. But the last 2 tissue samples on corn that came back, most of our fields have been lower K levels in the plant and lower boron levels. Well, not shocking on boron because it's so water soluble. K being mobile and immobile, right? We've been so wet. I mean, it's been immobile, or sorry, too mobile because it's been moving actually.
To me, what grows that dilution effect within the plant.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's if guys are looking at right now going into tassel, what they can do. Obviously I don't like spraying anything on during tassel time. If they're going to do stuff, post tassel brown silk, there's things we can do on beans. Pretty simple. If we're getting close to that R3 time, there's programs and ideas to do on beans. There's programs and ideas to do on R4, late R4. You just got to know what you're doing. And I think that's one thing I encourage everybody to do is you better have a tissue sample or at least go out and take some tissue samples in your field to know what roadmap you're on.
Right. I mean, you're flying blind if not.
Agree. Totally agree.
Well, my stomach's telling me that it's about lunchtime. So,
You want that corn dog, don't you?
yes.
We'll have to find out what terrible fair food they got for day 1.
I'm probably just going to go cold ground beef and a banana.
No, yeah, that's normal for you. Yeah, be sitting here while we're all eating terrible food that's going to kill us all. So, no, I think that's it. I mean, I know we got another episode coming up here in a little bit that will be our first guest on the podcast coming up. So I think people could look forward to that.
Yeah, they don't have to listen to us for an hour.
No, we're way too stupid for people to listen to. So,
But no, I appreciate your insight. I think it's good for, all of our viewers, all of our customers to kind of to get a glimpse into your mind and kind of, how you operate how this company operates outside of, the conversation that we just had, which is what we had with people 99% of the time. It's agronomy, it's crops, it's diagnosing things, but you know, I think it's cool to get a look on the other side of things as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll just leave it with this. From my perspective, if you farm out there, be paying attention to the green markets also. I'm not gonna dive into that landmine right now, but a lot of things going on geopolitical right now, a lot of things going on with the crop and what predictions are happening with weather, and market is responding. I mean, we opened up big time overnight last night, and we opened up again this morning up. So, you know, be prepared. Those of you that farm to listen, be prepared to take profitability. Know what you're dealing with a crop, know what you're dealing with and what kind of crop you have, and be prepared to start taking profitability. I don't know how long this profitability is going to last.
All right. Well, I dropped that landmine right there. That's fine. All right, everyone. Well, like Brad said, next episode we will have a guest in. So see you soon.
Check you out on the next side of the turn row.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Turn Row Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Cross Creek Ag Solutions. From precision ag technology to smarter, data-driven decisions, Cross Creek helps farmers maximize every acre. Ready to grow more with less guesswork? Visit crosscreekag.com and see what your operation's missing. Cross Creek Ag Solutions. Farming smarter starts here.